Hi everyone, my name is Natalie Dawson. Welcome to Leader Talk. This show is proudly brought to you by Brainiact. Each week we are meeting with incredible leaders from around the world to discuss all things leadership and business insights. Each person coming on this talk show has given up their valuable time for one very clear purpose: to give back to small and medium business owners. Many of us will agree that running a business, regardless of its size, requires an investment in people. This investment includes recruiting the best talent, retaining great talent, and developing and growing great people. Today, my co-host, CEO of Peerlight, Gus Arianto, and I are fortunate to chat to our guest speaker, Kobi Simmat, business advisor, speaker, and the founder and CEO of Bestpractice.biz, a company that helps business owners expand their business. A successful business owner himself, Kobi is here today to share with us his insights about how to grow and scale an organization through people. Welcome to the show, Kobi.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here, and we've got a great topic to talk about. So I'm ready when you are.
Happy New Year, Kobi. And once again, on behalf of Leader Talk, thank you so much for donating your valuable time for all of us. Can't wait to spend the next 1 hour to learn from you.
Thanks, Gus. No worries at all. And Happy New Year to you guys too. I hope 2022 is a time for achieving massive goals for everybody, and we can all get into it, because I'm really excited. Ignore the adversity out there. I think we should just chip away at what we're excited about. And I'm here to help people. So this is 100% where I want to be right now.
Thank you. What an energy.
Fantastic. And Kobi, we begin each talk show with 2 fun questions we ask our guests, and we have yours. So the first one we're going to ask you is, what is your favorite time of the day and why?
Oh, without a doubt, 4 a.m. 100%. That's I really love getting up. I've got a beautiful house in Colorado Plateau in Sydney. I live on the cliff there, and I can see the ocean. So I've got like 180-degree view of the ocean. It was my dream home that I stretched myself to purchase, and I can get up and I can see the sunrise. So I can see the sunrise over the ocean every morning, and it kind of moves through winter up north and then through summer back south. You wake up, the world's waking up, the birds are waking up. I can sit out there, I can hit the button on the coffee machine and sit out there and have a beautiful coffee, and maybe grab a book, turn a light on and grab a book, or just watch the sunrise and the morning. And then once it's not too creepy to get out in the community, walking around the streets at 4 a.m. sometimes people get freaked out. But so I'll head out the driveway about 5:15, and a couple of mornings a week I meet my brother, and we take the dogs and do a 10-kilometer walk and gas bag about business. And between the two of us, we've got 200 employees, and it's a great way for us to catch up. We end up on the phone a couple of times a day to each other, but it's a good way to kind of get the day started a couple of times a week. So the morning, without a doubt, is so important, and I can get so much done. Clear thinking time, exercise, enjoy the beautiful environment. It can be pouring rain and a thunderstorm, and I still love it. So I'm definitely a morning person, 100%.
Fantastic. And we can see that you love to read. We can see all the books behind you. So the second question is, do you have a favorite book that you've recently read that you can recommend?
I recently read, I've got it's a funny thing, like everybody in my team knows this, and a few people that know me quite well know this, that there are couriers turning up, Amazon and eBay and those sorts of couriers turning up to my office and my house every single day. So when someone recommends a book to me, I have eBay and Amazon open on my iPhone the whole time. And if someone recommends a book, I buy it straight away. And so there's just this constant barrage. So I'm just trying to think, in the last couple of weeks, probably 20 books have turned up that I've been flicking through. I tell you what I'm doing this year is I follow Tim Ferriss quite closely. And Tim Ferriss, he's a well-renowned author. If you want to follow him, it's tim.blog is his website. So I'm doing a deep dive on Tim Ferriss. And in 2022, I spent, because of the pandemic and working from home the last 2 years, I've kind of been a lot, I kind of over-indexed on new content. And I was like, actually, what, I'm going to kind of scale it back and go deep on one person. So Tools of Titans by Tim Ferriss, I think, is the book that's going to give the most amount of value to a lot of people really quickly. He set out to write an encyclopedia of all of the human high performance elements that would make him a great business person, great human kind of thing. So I think any small to medium business person listening, anyone listening, if they said, like, Kobi, you've read over 1,000 books in the last 3 years, business books, I can't do that. I don't have time to do that. What's one? I would say that Tools of Titans, because it's chapter by chapter. It's not one whole book. Open up the contents page, have a look down the contents page. There's a topic there that's going to be a problem in your business right now. So reading that chapter is going to be a good investment of your time to find someone's idea of how you could solve a problem in your business or life right now, whether it's health and fitness, a New Year's resolution, a business challenge, a people challenge, a high performance challenge. I think that is a really important book that everybody should have in their business library. And I think a business library is a really important thing. But right now, for me, I'm actually reading, I'm not rereading his 4-Hour Body book, and specifically the chapter on how to lose 9 kilos in 30 days. So it's post-Christmas. It's been a really great time. And I'm keen, I have all my other things under control, and I have sacrificed my health over the years to achieve what I've achieved in business and in life. And I think that this is the year when, I'm 3 years off 50. I'm on my way, and when I hit 50, I want to make sure I'm in peak condition. And I have memorable moments where I've been in peak condition in my life, and that's not right now. Although I'm not doing too bad, but I'm not where I want to be. So the 4-Hour Body is what I'm reading right now. But Tools of Titans would be it's a fun book, and I think it's got some great stuff in it.
Perfect. Thank you. And Kobi, before we get into the questions, we're hoping you can tell us a bit more about yourself and as well about your business.
Yeah, look, that's a great question. And so let me start with why. Like, I'm super, super motivated and passionate about helping organizations to be great places to work. I think there's too many stories about people who, work, right? It's kind of got a negative connotation from the get-go. So I'm super passionate about helping organizations to be great places to work. I get my kicks out of organizations to be great places to buy from. So, like, if I can help an organization to have a great buying experience, and then all of a sudden I hear about people in the community raving about this company and how good it was to work with them, buy from them, around them, then that's where I get my kicks. And then for small to medium business owners, that it becomes a great investment. A lot of people embark out on setting up and running or starting or buying or running their own business, and they're like, I want it because I don't like being told what to do. I kind of want to do my own thing, or I want some freedom, or I want to have holidays, or I want to make money. And then invariably, as we all know, there's a common story that it swallowed you up. You haven't had a holiday, you lost the farm. It's frustrating. People are frustrating, and the nitty gritty of kind of doing that thing, it's nothing like what's in the brochure. So I'm super passionate about creating organizations that are great places to work, great places to buy from, great places to invest in. And then I just have fun every day figuring out how to achieve that, which is, we talk about people, data, and process. So we do deep dives on people and deep dives on data and deep dives on process. And we try to look at how do we improve people, how do we improve data, how do we improve process? And they all kind of talk to each other. And then, we've built businesses around that, recruitment companies and business coaching companies and management consultancies. But the secret sauce is, although it's great and I love coaching people and I sell that as a service, we actually use the secret sauce to run our own companies. So, we have a big factory. We have a couple of other businesses that we run, and we love helping people and helping clients. But, I'm learning and growing and developing because we're building and growing our own brands. We do a lot of marketing, a lot of sales, a lot of people, a lot of HR, a lot of recruitment, a lot of coaching, because we're deploying everything in our own businesses. And we're the sandbox, and we go, actually, what that worked in the Best Practice group, we deploy it to our family business, and we deploy it to our clients. And so the commercial service that we, invoice customers for might come 18 to 24 months after we've robustly implemented it in our own businesses, and we've proved that it works, and we can say, well, here's how we do it. In 2020, just as an example, in 2020, we did 36,000 social media posts. So the heat of the pandemic, everybody freaked out. Everyone's going nuts. I went as deep as I possibly could at scale on social media posting. Now, one would say, oh, you're an agency. No. That was our companies and our brands. We didn't charge for one single one of those posts. Now, this year, we're thinking about launching a marketing agency where we do that for people. Because some of the things we discovered in that process was things you can't Google. We know what's going on LinkedIn really deep, like even more so than LinkedIn themselves. And they ring us up and they say, hey, can we have some advice? I was the first person in Australia who is not a LinkedIn influencer to get LinkedIn Live, for example. So because they're like, this guy's going crazy, he's breaking it, he's finding the bugs, he's doing it. So it's something we're thinking about, how do we charge for a service like that where we help people? And that may come. But right now, I love just being out in the community and networking with people and sharing what I've learned. And if people want to ask me questions, like, for example, if you could go inside my brain and ask one question, what would it be? And that's, you guys today, you can ask as many questions as you like, and we can kind of work out what's going on in there, because even I don't know, my subconscious is processing stuff. Like I do things and I don't realize, and then people are like, why'd you do that? So that's what we're passionate about: management consultancy, helping businesses to grow and scale, and the people data process. So if you're somebody who's listening to this and you're like, my business is starting to go okay, I've made a few mistakes, but I really want to grow, then reach out to me and ask some questions. And I won't charge for that. But if I can help you unlock some challenges and you can go forwards, then maybe later on down the track, I'll circle back and say, hey, I'd really appreciate it if you considered us for a particular service we offer.
Fantastic. Sounds like it's all happening. Very busy year for you ahead.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, it doesn't stop. So we've got lots on, and I think we talked about this off air. But if you're listening to this and if you're listening to this episode, and for you guys, like, if I live by this philosophy that if you're listening to this and if you're destined for something bigger, if deep down in your heart you know that you can do more and you just haven't kind of found it yet, but you're destined for more, it's unethical of you not to go and do more, because you are. If it's deep in your heart that you're what, I'm destined for something bigger, then you've got to ramp it up. You've got to 10x it, because you owe it to the world. And I said to that quote that I live by is that the service that we give to others is the rent we pay for our space on Earth. Like, I'm on this planet, I'm occupying resources, I'm consuming resources. What I do to help people is that I've got to pay for my space. And so that's how I do it. And that's how I live by that philosophy. I'm not looking for a remuneration. You give to the universe and the universe gives back. So I think that reciprocity thing is the reciprocity is with the universe, not an individual person,
That's
Kobi,
great.
Can I just ask a question? In the first 5 minutes, your energy, it's like unbelievably high. Your purpose comes out through the screen. You want to help organization. You want to help as many people to find a great place to work. You want to grow people. Everything is about, how do I put it? Creating a Disneyland in the workplace, in the organization, so people can have enjoyment. Now, you are also, as a consultant, working with different companies. You run your own business. Are there any common recipe to how you create a great place to work? Is there any, what are the top 3 before someone can say, hey, my organization is a great place to be?
Yeah. Look, I think that I'm a great believer in this kind of philosophy, which is like the first part of the first part of the answer to that question is this do more concept. Like, everybody's like, more goals, more activity, more action. The only way you can achieve that is to do less of something. So the answer to the question starts with, well, what should we take away? Because everyone's thinking, oh, I've got to do more. I've got to do, it's more, more social media, or more, more lunches for the staff, or more money, all that kind of stuff. But we've all got 24 hours in the day. We've got 7 days in the week. You've got 72 20-minute segments in a day. And you've got to choose how you invest those. So when someone asks me that question and says, well, what are the things we can do to create this Disneyland in the workplace? We've got to take things away. That's the first thing. So we've got to work out, what do we take away that will make it a better place to work? Now, it might be we take away a toxic person. You all know that when someone new starts, the vibe changes. You know, the rapport you built with everybody else has changed. You're at a networking event, someone walks up to the group, they stand there and listen. Oh, this is a bit awkward because we don't know who that is. You know, and the same thing happens in the workplace. You throw another person in. As an entrepreneur, we're all guilty of helicoptering a new person into the business. All right, here's your new player, figure out how to work with them, and I'm off to do what I'm doing. You know, you guys sort yourselves out. So taking a toxic person out of the workplace, and we'll get to that in the conversation, but that can be the first way to actually make Disneyland. You take out the person the high performance salesperson that's got a ridiculous ego and treats everybody like shit, fire them. You already know that you should. And you know what happens is that everybody goes, well, you know, they love that person and that person's doing all the selling, so I'm not going to work very hard because they don't see me, they don't care about me. And so by taking the toxic person out, you know, it doesn't cost you any extra. You don't have to hire another person. In fact, you're going to save money and you're going to get more out of everybody else. So I'm a great believer in taking things away and making it simple. And then the next thing I want everybody to be thinking about is a spectrum. Like a linear line, and what's at one end of the spectrum and what's at the other. So Disneyland and the great place to work is at one end of the spectrum, right? Think about all that amazing stuff, and amazing people are coming to your front door of your workplace and they're banging on it and they're saying, I want to work for you because your place is amazing and I'm going to volunteer myself for 6 months full time for free to prove how good I am because I want to join your team. And if you think about high performance athletes, they go to training every day, the gym every day. They pay to go to the gym. They pay to go to training. They pay to eat food, all that stuff that the high performance athletes do so they can make the team. They didn't get paid to train to get on the team. They didn't say, you know, I'll be a high performance athlete 6 months after I start with you. I'm going to be that person now. So I'm going to add you a huge amount of value to the high performance soccer or football team. That's one end of the spectrum. The other end of the spectrum is, I hate this place. Everybody hates this place, and your staff are leaving, and you can't get good staff. You can't find good staff. You can't find them. They won't come to work for you. It doesn't matter what you pay them, what lunches you shout them. You got really high staff turnover. So that's the spectrum. And I think a lot of people kind of neglect to think about that is, well, why would someone want to come and work at your organization for free versus I can't offer them enough money? Like, we're in the great labor shortage, great resignation right now. And we've got to be thinking about that. What makes my organization a great place to work? Why would someone want to work for me for free? Like, forget the money side, take the money out and go, what is so amazing about this workplace that people want to work here for free? Let me give you a case study. About 20 meters away from where I'm sitting right now, there is a team of people, and people bang on the door of that part of one of our businesses every day saying, can I come in and do a day for you for free to prove how good I am? Because I want to work there. I've heard from my mates and my friends how good it is working there, and I want to work there. They are paid the award. So we pay them in that part of that business. It's in a factory. We pay them the award. Okay, so what is it down there? About 2 years ago, we bought them a DJ desk. And so they've got the DJ desk, right? They're all kind of between 20 and 30 years old. They go to nightclubs and pubs and that kind of stuff. They've all got Spotify. They've all got iPhones and Samsungs, and they can pick up a cable and they can plug in their phone and they can play their playlist at full volume in this part of our factory. And it's a powder coating facility. So they're spraying powder and they're baking it, and it's dirty and it's filthy and it's blue collar hardcore work. But they are down there right now, and I can hear it in the background. You guys can't hear it. Is the techno is down there right now, thumping away, boom, 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 boom. And those guys are all, you know, they're not dancing around, but one day it'll be country, one day it'll be techno. And then once a week we shout them lunch. And then, you know, a couple of them go to the pub together after work. But there are people saying, you guys have so much fun there. It's so good. And, you know, it's great. And then my brother and I, and me probably more so than my brother, I walk down there. I was like, "G'day, handsome. How you going, mate?" And I go down there and I charge their batteries with my energy. And so they are banging on the door. And I've recently had another guy from another industry come to me, and he came to me in the middle of last year. He said, look, he's almost ready to retire. He's 64 years old. And he said, look, Kobi, He says, like, you've got so much energy. I really love being around you. I can see he's been working for me as a contractor. And he said to me, look, he said, can I work for you full time next year? Like, you know, let me prove to you that I'm really good at what I'm doing. I want to work for you next year because I just like being around you. So I'm not a perfect human. Like, I'm still flawed. And I'm, you know, some days I'm in a mood and I'm overtired, or my son woke up 5 times last night, or the dog climbed on me in the middle of the night and I didn't get any sleep, or I didn't eat properly, or, you know, I'm still a flawed human, you know, and I've got my own demons in my head, but I know that I charge people's batteries, and I know that that is ethically the right thing to do and what I should be doing. And so I've really got to check myself. And so that morning time you asked me about, that's my time to kind of reset and go, okay, today the world needs me to be positive, and today the world needs me to be, you know, upbeat, and these people come to me and I employ them, and I look after, you know, we give them money and it pays their rent and their food and their mortgage and their kids' school and all that kind of stuff. So I want people listening to think about that spectrum of, if you're complaining that you can't get people and you can't pay them enough money and there's no one around, then you haven't got an attractive organization. It's not attractive. And so now's the time to look in the mirror and say, taking money out of the picture, why would somebody want to come to work for me? And so the final thing, if you want to Google something, is hygiene factors and motivating factors. I'm only paying the award and I'm only doing what the law says, then you're not going to attract anybody. And you're probably not a nice person, and you're probably unfriendly, and you probably only care about making a profit. You're never going to attract anybody. But if you genuinely care about people moving forward in their lives and looking after people, then you can think about that spectrum and say, okay, well, what are the motivating factors? And I'll give you the checklist really quickly. Are you giving people a sense of responsibility? Do they feel a sense of responsibility? Are you giving them meaningful work to do? Are you giving them growth and development opportunities? And are you planning for them to be an amazing resource for their next person they work for, leaving them in a better shape or form, or more educated, more experienced, happier place than when they came to when they leave? And then this is all predicated on an industry statistic. The average Australian business, and it's actually a global statistic, so it's concurred with the Small Business Administration in the US, is that an average organization has 30% staff turnover per annum. So you have to work on the assumption that if you do nothing, that every 3 years, the average is that your whole staff turned over. So if you've got 4 staff, then in 3 years' time, you will have 4 new staff. And so through that time, someone's going to leave. If you've got 3 staff, every year someone's going to leave, and you're going to hire somebody new, and in 3 years' time, it's a whole new team. So, you know, if you're at 200, we're seeing it every day. I've got new people starting every day. We're doing inductions every day. We've got departures every day. It's like a merry-go-round, the leaving drinks we have with people, you know, because someone's always leaving. And we've tried, you know, we sit at around 22%. We're not perfect by any means, but we're doing everything that we can, you know. And so, long answer to your question, because it's a great topic to ask about, but those are the things to consider. But please consider that if you are complaining as a business owner, if you're complaining that you can't find people, you can't get great people, it's because your business is ugly. So start working on making it look good and confront the brutal facts. So Jim Collins talks about the Stockdale paradox. Be broadly optimistic, but confront the brutal facts. Take money out of the picture and look at everything else. And it's not about buying lunch. It's about having people move along their journey in their career. They want to get more experience. They want to learn more. That's called your career. It's called experience. You have to give people experience. Give them the opportunity to learn and grow and develop. They'll stick around. But if you have them, you say, right, I've got that set. I've got the person flipping burgers. They're not going to want to flip burgers for the next 20 years. They're going to flip burgers for maybe 12 months. And then they want to basically go and serve customers. And then they want to make drinks.
And I think, looking from what you say, I do agree. It's not about giving them lunch. It's not giving them ice cream. When I look into your example of your business allowing the warehouse or the factory to have a pumping music, if tomorrow I do the same in my factory in Sydney, it might have a different outcome, because the difference that I think people need to take notice, that you actually going in there and show that you have an interest in their music. You have some interest, probably dancing a little bit with them. So a lot of organization, in my opinion, they read the book and say, if you give an ice cream, people happy. The difference is one person give the ice cream and sit down with the employees. The other person or leaders give the ice cream hoping they will be happy. And then when they're not happy, they say this: I don't understand. My employee just can't be happy even when I give them ice cream. No one wants ice cream. No one wants ice cream.
That's exactly right. 100%.
Very good.
And they, you know, they want to get close to you as well. Like it's called, you know, the 5 love languages, and this is a separate topic, but some people are gifts, some people are quality time, some people are acts of service, some people are touch, and some people are words of affirmation. So I've got to look at all my people and go, okay, well, is that a compliments person or a quality time person? You know?
Yeah. Look, you mentioned, Kobi, the Great Resignation, you know, and that term seems to be appearing quite a lot. We're hearing it a bit. What are your thoughts about this? And, you know, is there something that small or medium business owners can do to prevent it?
Yes, 100%. So the first thing we've got to think about with the Great Resignation is, like, I think we've got to blame ourselves. So I blame myself for everything. I don't blame anybody else for anything in my life. You start with, this is my fault. So I think the first thing we've got to do is, like, forget about what's happening out there and what's happening out in the community. Come inside and go, okay, well, what am I doing about that? Okay, here's some data for you. The shelf life of a position for an employee or somebody on your team that's working for you is about 4 years maximum. And so the first, the first, let me kind of break this down, and let's say 10% is beginner. You know, they're a beginner in that position, and then they're kind of in flow for, you know, there may be a beginner for the first kind of year, and then they're in flow for, say, the 2 years in the middle, and then the last year they're in mastery. But when they get to mastery, they're starting to kind of start to lose interest because they're looking for their next challenge in terms of growth and development. And now I actually think it's shorter than that, but the research and the data that I've been reading lately is kind of talking about 4 years. So you have to understand that I would suggest, particularly with recent graduates, like the current 20 to 25-year-olds now, as opposed to the 20 to 25-year-olds 10 years ago, I think it's getting shorter because they're coming out smarter. Like, when I started my business, I had dial-up internet connection, and I started my business the same year as Facebook and the same year as Google. So Google didn't exist. And now we're all one Google search away from success. So I've got some of the smartest, you know, that 20 to 25-year-olds have always been ridiculously smart in the workplace because they're not biased with all the experience and the bad behavior and the bad habits. So they are by far the smartest, and we should over-index on looking after them and giving them growth and experience opportunities. So when we start to think about useful life, I think the shelf life of a position for any of your people on your team right now is 3 years. Time to learn it, time to get in flow, time for mastery. But we must be giving them a sense of responsibility, meaningful work to do, and growth and development opportunities, but also helping them to get gratitude for what they're achieving. And I think that's one thing that as leaders we have to do, is we have to circle back and say, okay, what was great about last week? For you, what was the professional highlight last week? And so with the Great Resignation, I'm constantly thinking about it, predicated on the fact that I don't think I'll ever get my staff turnover down below maybe 22%. So it kind of means that the average person is going to last 4 years in my team under my employee. And I'm going to keep trying to do stuff like, we're starting more businesses to move people to the next business. And so they're kind of still working for me personally, but they move to another company. And so I'm trying to prevent that by, like, giving them vertical integration opportunities. Where's this person going to go in their career? I'm trying, you know, but I don't think I'm going to get below 22%. So I think that 30%, you know, a lot of you guys listening might be at 50% staff turnover. So understanding what your number is, starting to measure that number, thinking about that number, and then starting to think about, okay, if looking at all of your team member, who are the beginners, who's in flow, who's in mastery, which is predicting they're going to move. So do your cultural vitality survey. If small businesses, you can kind of do a little health check. Is everybody happy? Hit an emoji, like net promoter score. There's lots of different things you can do as a small business that are really simple and fast to kind of get a gauge on how happy people are and what they want to do. And I can give you some kind of leadership, personal development insights about how you can do that. But one of the things we try to do, and it doesn't happen all of the time, in fact, it's about 50% of the time, is we start every single week, regular weekly meeting in the sales team, in the marketing team, in the ops team, in the executive, with a personal and professional highlight. So in thinking about last week, what was a personal highlight? And in thinking about last week, what was a professional highlight? And that, the cliche term right now, is gratitude, which is, oh, I had this professional highlight. It forces your brain, from my favorite book, Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman, forces your brain back into last week. It's really easy to kind of be in the moment and forget last week, and Christmas seems like months ago, and your holiday, you come back from holidays, oh, that feels like months ago, to think back to that. And so we're triggering gratitude. And so by triggering that gratitude, it means that people are realizing that there are some highlights that are happening to them week by week in working for the team. And actually, this is a good thing. And it is motivating. And I did achieve some small milestones. And even though I'm frustrated I can't finish this project, I actually made some progress and good things happened. If you want to go really deep, there's one really other great question that you can ask, which is, what's an old relationship I'm grateful for? Because then they think back in their career, or you think back in your career, and you say, okay, well, I'm really grateful for that person. And I've been doing a lot of that lately, thinking about people that have really contributed to my career, that have had a meaningful impact. And you can think about the modern people, but I think about the people 20, 30 years ago. I started working when I was 15. I've been self-funded since I was 15. And that's a whole nother family story about that, but I'm thinking now about those people. And I reached out to someone that I worked for 20 years ago the other day, and I said, look, I really just we haven't spoken for 15 years, but I'm really grateful for you. Like, you taught me so much stuff. I got to stand beside you. I was a beginner. I got to stand beside you and watch you. And what you taught me was amazing. And I think some of my work ethic came from you. And he's like, oh my God, you've made my day, So I think practical execution of gratitude, without kind of sitting in the morning and saying, oh, I'm grateful for the sun and the moon and the grass and the birds chirping and my breakfast cereal. That's great. But I think with our team, we do that. And it's a safe environment in our team meetings, because everyone knows now they're on the spot. I'm like, I'm not talking in this meeting. I literally sit there and I don't speak until the end. And that's another piece of advice, the separate thing. But as the leader, everyone's waiting to see what I'm thinking and looking at. I was like, no, I want to hear what you're thinking. I pay you guys. Like, I pay you for your hypothesis and your opinion. I want to hear it. I don't want to bias it. Like, I don't want you to be the yes person. I want to make sure I say the right thing in front of the boss. It's safe for everybody. And so I don't speak until the end. Whole nother thing. So I'm going to stop now, because I can keep going on for hours about this stuff. There's so many.
Can I be a devil advocate here? You have 200 employees just in one part of your business, and you probably have more. You involved with many businesses, and you said to us, a couple of times, be brave to take the toxic out, make sure that you understand the level of the people in your organization. When you have that much people, losing 5 people, it's not as dramatic as my business and Natalie. If I make it like Natalie and I, Natalie, today, what's our business today, Nat?
Not a food shop.
A food shop. All right, we are a mechanic.
We're a florist. We're going to be a florist.
Oh yeah, we are a florist. Lovely florist. We are a small florist, Kobi, with 4 people. Natalie is one of my high performer person. So when Natalie put her resignation to me, the other 3 people will look at me on how I react on this. Yes. I've been developing her for the past 3 years. I put every investment on her as a small business, different to a big business. So investment is like, I'm talking to her every day. I ask her whether she's okay or not. I give her my books, whatever. and now she resigned. My number one florist resigned. How should I act? Because I can't replace her. And my other 3 people now become insecure because the most valuable person finding a job at the big global florist company as the GM. How should I myself?
Yeah. Look, I think, you know, it is hard. Like there's nothing easy about it. Like one piece of advice I got from one of those old relationships was business is a full body contact sport. And you have to understand that business is a full body on contact sport. There is no easy answer to that question. And don't go into business if you think it's going to be cruisy. We have employees, we have intrapreneurs, and we have entrepreneurs. Decide what category you want to be in. I'd recommend, if you're entrepreneurial, be an intrapreneur. But, you know, I'm not answering your question about, you know, how do we deal with that? I think that there's 2 parts to this. One is there's the toxic piece, which is we'll get to separately. What do we do if our best person puts in their resignation? That's tricky, right? I think it's, you know, you're going to be asking people to work. If you haven't got an immediate switch over for that person, then we're going to be basically, we're going to be hustling because we got the same amount of customers and the same amount of work with 3 people instead of 4. I think as a business owner, when somebody tenders their resignation, you have to give them a hug and you have to acknowledge the fact that they are taking the next step in their career. And you have to acknowledge that. Like, you can't do anything. You can't react and get angry because everyone's like, she's saying, like, that doesn't add any value to anybody. It's not productive. It's not proactive. It's not good for your own chemicals. And if you do it too often, you'll get cancer. So I think all you can do is say, okay, what I need to do is I need to actually celebrate this. And I think if you lead the mind, the body will follow. If you can lead your mind and you can say, the way I have to react when someone's going to resign is I need to be positive and celebrate that. Okay, anyone listening who is not in this right now, assuming that your best person, and I know some businesses over the break, people came back from Christmas. It happens every single year. Every single year, you come back after Christmas and a certain amount of small business owners will lose their best person. It's a numbers game. So hypothetically speaking, there are some listeners right now who are in that situation. What do we do? And I'll answer that. And there are some who are not, but they might be. Okay, the very first thing that you have to do practically as a business owner when that happens is celebrate the person, then go somewhere. Maybe you need to walk outside the front door. Maybe you need to walk down the street and scream and blow off some steam, if that's what you need to do, but do not do it in front of anybody. Okay, you've cooled your jets, you come back in, you've got to advertise straight away. Business success is predicated on speed. Nothing's going to happen if you do nothing. So I need to replace that person. And so you've got your 3 other people that you mentioned who are really anxious and what's going to happen based on your reaction. It's like, it's okay, we've gone straight out to market. And so literally get on the phone. And so your task is to write, I either need A, a warm body who can occupy this, or B, I need this person to be replaced. But also, so you've got to go straight back out to market. Now, that's going to take some time to incubate itself. Maybe it's going to take a week or 2 weeks to kind of get people's attention, let them know there's an opportunity. The next step is to talk to your team and say, hey, this is a great opportunity. Is anybody interested in stepping up or doing something differently? Because you might actually be able to bring somebody less experienced in underneath and grow everybody. Now, our success in our business, and I've tried to hire really experienced people. I've brought in the $1 million salaries and parachuted them in. In my business, my on average, my success comes from growing my people internally and promoting them internally. And so I would suggest seeing if those people want to take a step up on the escalator and bringing someone at the bottom that's less experienced. They're potentially easier to find, somebody who wants to try it. If you've got 12 months notice, I would suggest you start an intern program, volunteering program kind of thing, and then, some groups. And I've got tips. There are some really magical tips that you can use for recruitment, and I can touch on those if you want me to, in terms of how do you find good people? What's the secret sauce? But in this instance, is sitting down and having a team meeting and saying, okay, this is a great opportunity. This person is leaving. We're celebrating that opportunity. This person has come, they've learned, they've grown, and look at this, they've got this amazing opportunity. You guys could get some of these opportunities if you step up. You could go and work for that amazing company if you step up. Let's get you that experience. And then they go, so then back to the motivating factors I talked about earlier, they're going to feel a sense of responsibility. Let's talk quickly about the toxic person. And I can, if anyone wants to reach out to me, I can always kind of, talk more about their unique situation, their case study. Let's talk about the toxic person. We need to get them out. It's always about having uncomfortable conversations, and I would recommend that they are one-on-one in a closed-door room, not publicly as a team. So if you need to kind of have this corrective conversation, you celebrate things like the person leaving to go to the amazing global florist. You celebrate that publicly because people see how you lead, and you lead by example. But if you've got to have this corrective conversation, and maybe it's like you're thinking about exiting somebody, that's got to be one-on-one or one-on-two in a closed door room, because you're also talking about someone's pride. So I have a huge amount of empathy for the fact that either they know or they don't know, but you want to have this kind of thing. So I sit down, I write a couple of bullet points, and I say, listen, this business has got this money to invest each week and pay each week to have these tasks completed and these outcomes. And at the moment, those outcomes aren't being complete, or we've got some, yes, we're achieving the outcomes, but there's some other things like cultural values. And ideally, if you can do a bit of work and say, hey, our values are happiness, empathy, progressive, work hard, empathize, whatever that things might, your value words, if you like, if you can do that work, it helps. But if you haven't got that stuff and you haven't done that work yet, it's sitting down saying, look, this organization's got this role. This is the job that needs to be done. This is the team. These are the people that are here. And the company is willing to pay to have those tasks done and to work in this team and everybody to play nicely together. I'm not asking you to do that, but that's what the company has got, and I've got money to do. So you need to make a decision yourself about whether you want to do this job in exchange for the money and play nicely with these people or not. That's your decision. But at the moment, on our side, it's not working for us. And I need to make that known to you. Now, right now, it could be that, they've had gross misconduct, which is the definition under the Act. Look, it's what just happened last week is gross misconduct. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to let you go. I'm terminating your employment. Be really factual. But if you're trying to have that corrective conversation with that toxic person, say, look, there's some behavior here that's just not acceptable. I can't tolerate it. And this is the role. These are the expected behaviors. You don't have to do it. And it's kind of, so you're owning it, saying, I'm not asking you to do that, but I am asking you to do it if you want to take this money off the company each week and put it in your bank account in the form of payroll. It's your decision.
Yes.
It's an interesting way of putting it, because it is difficult to have those conversations.
It's really hard. It
doesn't matter how great you are as a leader. I think that's it's quite a difficult thing to do, to have those conversations.
Yeah. And I'll quote you on some of the things I've said in the past. I go into one of those meetings, and I've learned my lessons, obviously. I've had emotional ones, but I'll sit there and I'll say, okay, I'll sit and write a couple of bullet points. These are the key points I need to say. This is the situation, the example, the whatever, the thing I'm not happy with. I also what do I want? Before I go into the conversation, what do I want from this? Do I want the person out? Do I want them in? Do I want them to improve? And I walk in and I say, look, I'm not a very good leader. Right now, I'm 46 years old. I'm not a very good leader. I'm learning how to do this. So bear with me, because I need to have an uncomfortable conversation with you that's going to be really uncomfortable for me. There's a few things I need to talk to you about, and I apologize if I don't do it very well. I'm learning, but I'm doing it the best that I possibly can as to where I'm at right now. And particularly young, small and medium business leaders, you just have to say that. That's just the reality. You say, look, I think if you can follow people or get some advice or get some mentoring, there's plenty of YouTube videos and Googling and that kind of stuff. But I also think just be honest and just say, look, I feel really uncomfortable with this conversation. Firing people is one of the hardest things that you have to do in business. It's horrible and I hate it. And the one thing I could improve is probably to have more candor. But this particular topic we're talking about right now, my mum actually commented on over the Christmas break. We've just had all the family festivities, and my mum's like, gee, you've really grown a lot as a leader, because they ran a small business that failed. And they're like, we didn't know how to do that. And she's like, I wish we'd known then what you just said, which is, this is what we've got to offer. This is the role. This is what the business is. It's about exchange. And a lot of employees forget that, and employees forget that. Don't forget, they're collecting money each week, and it's actually a customer-supplier relationship. And a lot of people are like, no, I'm an employee and I'm entitled to this, 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 and this. Yes, well, of course you are, but it's also a contract and it's also money. And because of electronic funds transfer, the actual pay packet exchange isn't happening anymore. And that is something I think that we've got to, sometimes employees need to be reminded, no, hang on a minute, I gave you $2,500 last week, or I gave you $500 last week. And in exchange for that $500 this week, these are the things I need done. I'm not asking you to do it. Anyone can do it, but at the moment you're saying, I'll do it in exchange for the $500. So it's like, if you want to take the $500, this is what I need done, not you will do what I say, because they haven't got the money yet. Like, pay is 99% of the time, pay is in arrears. So as a business owner, you can't throw your finger around and say, no, you'll do what you're told. It's like, no. Well, at the moment they're working for free, because you're going to pay them at the end of the week. If you pay them up front, you can say, you'll do what you're told because you already took my money. But really challenge that and say, okay, well, no, hang on a minute. Actually, I'm asking them, if you do this, I'll give you this money. Not I gave you the money and you said you'd do it, now do it. So it's kind of really mindset thing. And I think we've got to go back to some of those 101 things. Of course, the devil's advocate stuff is always there. And actually, I welcome that. Like, if people can throw those comments at me, if anyone's listening, and you want to throw if you're listening to this and you're like, I'm not sure if I get it or if I disagree, then please reach out to me and let's have the conversation, because my intent is to help you to have a better place to work, to have longer employee retention, better value and scale, so you can achieve your business freedoms that you hope. That's my goal, help you.
Kobi, what I like from what you say is, it's important for a person, a leader, to really understand what he or she wants to get from that conversation. You come to talk to a toxic person, but if you don't actually sit down and really understand, do I want to sack this person? Do I want to correcting this person? Do I want to keep this person? You just come to talk. That's the start of a problem. I totally agree with this. Really understand, because you can't say, I don't like you, but I like you. I don't like you leaving as well. Now, that's where the meeting, I can picture the meeting will be very brutal. I don't like you, but I don't want you to leave.
The reality is the toxic person is your fault because you hired them.
Yeah.
As brutal as that sounds, it's
so you got to start there, right? It's your fault that they're there in the first place. So, you got to go. So don't get upset with them. Like, you hired them. So start there. And I was the young, frustrated. I started my business when I was 25 and I had none of this. Like, I'm getting, I'm finding the mastery position because I've been doing it so long. And I apologize to anybody that I've upset in the past because I was a crap leader. I'm really sorry. I know that I was a shit boss and I've done shit things, not intentionally, but it was what I had at the time. And I apologize for that, and it's, hopefully I can not do any more damage to anyone, but we've all got a story about a shit boss we've had in the past. I apologize to those people, but it's, I think going forward is I didn't have anybody to look up to, I had obviously people to look up to, but I think if we can learn from people and listen to people, and that's why this content and these interviews are so important, is because you can pick up those tidbits. And to be successful, we are just we are the growth organism from the influence of all the nutrients that are going around in the business community conversations, and to pick up and implement those things, and to be accepting of them. What's the person's intent and what's their advice? And ideally just taking advice from people that have done it, not people that are speculating about how it might work, I think is the other thing there.
Yeah. Look, Kobi, I want to ask a question about recruiting people, because I'm sure there's business owners listening to this saying, it's quite difficult. The larger businesses have the money, they've got the attractive salaries, the wonderful incentives, etc. But I'm starting out and I want great talent, but I don't have that to offer. What is your advice to those listeners out there going, I want great talent, but how do I compete with the big businesses?
Yeah, look, I think the first thing is, and I've done a huge amount of LinkedIn polling on this, money's not a motivator. So I think the first thing to take out of your mind is that the big business is offering more money, because it's not the case. Lots of stuff around the metrics of what people find and what motivates people. There's hygiene factors. The first thing you've got to do, and I'll give you a really magical tip about where to find great people, but the first thing is hygiene factors. So you've got to understand that someone needs to live somewhere, they need to buy food, they need to get to work, and you've got to remunerate them so that they can actually come to work. That's the first thing. So if they can't afford to live where your business is, then, and that's kind of often where if I really go deep on what is the issue that's driving people, is like they're finding affordability close to work difficult. That's more often than not, because after that, it's just about the next overseas holiday or a better car or clothes or going out on the weekends or looking after their family. So housing affordability is really important, having empathy for that for everybody, because they've got to pay rent or a mortgage. Like, that's the reality. Like, or they're living with their parents and they've got to pay board, or they're trying to save for a deposit or whatever. So I think that, when we're kind of thinking about that, that's the first thing. The second thing, it's back to that spectrum. Why would someone want to work for me? And I think being really clear on your why and the worthy cause and the mission, not the mission statement, but like, what's the amazing journey that we're going to go on as an organization? And is that journey motivating for people? So is the brand attractive? Is the company attractive? Is it doing meaningful work? What are all the cool little things that someone will come and work for me for free? So it's often, you do your personal work on yourself. So you're inspiring and you're motivating and people want to be around you. If you're an introvert or an extrovert, that's okay. But there are, I've got a friend who runs an activewear company and people want to work for him for free because he's like, well, if people come and do some voluntary work and then I'll kind of work out if they're good, they'll get some free activewear and they can come and learn some stuff and do some Instagram and go to the gym and that kind of stuff. I'll pay them a commission on anything that they sell, and then I'll start giving them a base. But I don't ask for anything. They can come and do whatever hours they want. Uni students wander in there and do stuff. So think about that spectrum. So I think empathy is a really important thing. And then the final thing is, like, where do we find great people? Because I haven't got the big budget. I haven't got the corporate. You've got to build your brand, and your brand is you in the first instance as a leader. And what makes you attractive as a leader? What makes you you're destined for something bigger. You want to grow your company and you'll get there. So you want to find people that want to go on that journey and do that meaningful work. So identifying, the why and the worthy cause. People come here to Best Practice because they know they're doing meaningful work. Everyone we work with, we're helping their organization to be a better place to work. We're helping their customers have a better buying experience. And so they get their kicks out of seeing, one of our companies has got like some stickers that we give to our customers. And you see the Best Practice stickers out on trucks and vehicles in the community. And some of your listeners will have just now figured out who I am. I'm that guy with the Best Practice stickers. So there is 1,000 companies Australia-wide that use our stickers on their windows and their business cards and their trucks and that kind of stuff. Best Practice, that's us. And so our staff get their kicks out of seeing our stickers out on the road. They're like, oh, we're working with that company. We help them with process improvement, or we help them with something better about their company. So here's the magical trick. Recruitment is like fishing. And so recruitment is like having hot chips at the beach or fish and chips at the beach on a Sunday afternoon and the seagulls come around you. So the question is, the people that what does the business require? What's the 5-star version of the situation for the incumbent in this position? We want someone who's got the skills, qualification, experience, and is good to work with. Okay, I think predicate that on growing people. So I would suggest cultural fit first over skills and experience. Grow people through your organization. So critical positions are replaced with people that you're already training. So start to think about the ladder, the development ladder in your company. Don't just go the most toxic hires I've ever done are the fully experienced and skilled people coming straight into the company. So I would go back and say, okay, where do those people hang out? So we don't just recruit in one spot. We don't just recruit on Seek or on LinkedIn. For marketing graduates and the people for our marketing team, we go straight into the university notice boards. And we send uni students who work for us into the universities with sheets of paper and a pin, and we use the old school notice boards or the online notice boards, because that's where we get the marketing people from. You've got to think about where they're hanging out. The people like the florist, junior florist person, maybe they are hanging out at a flower grower, or maybe they're doing decorative things, or maybe they're going to an art class. Hey, you're doing an art class and you're painting flowers. How'd you like to come and actually work with real flowers? So you've got to, if you don't have the budget and you don't have the brand and you don't have the big company, what you do have is time and effort and energy. And so you've got to think about where are those people, where are those groups of people hanging out? They're at the wharf bar, or they're at the, down by the river, or they're at this networking group. And so you've got to go to where the fish are. I like to say it's like fishing. You've got to go to the fishing spot, and then you've got to burley in the water, and the fish will come around, and then you just drop the hook in. And so that's, you can't, the big corporate just says, I'm here. And because the light is so big, the bugs come to the big light. When you're not like that, you've got to go out. And so it's like, you've got to find the fishing spot. And so we fish for marketing people in one place, and factory people in another place, and academics in another place, and leaders in a different place. But a lot of our people, like our head of business development for the Best Practice group has developed internally in the business. We have a head of high performance. So we don't have an HR department. We have a head of high performance, and she's high performance coaching people. She's been with me for 11 years, and she's moved all the way through the ranks. And so most of our managers have been developed internally, 50%. And I think the other thing too, I'm a huge advocate for, I don't know how to say this politically correctly, but I was in a sales meeting yesterday with 10 people, and there was 2 men. So, my executive team is 70% women. They are nurturing, the female instincts versus the male instinct. The male is the warrior kind of, the human DNA is the kind of the warrior, the aggressive, the, straight to solutions mode. But a good leader is a good listener, has mothering instincts. And the more that you become a leader, particularly as a male, you've got a lot of work to do on emotional intelligence and leadership ability and listening skills. And for women, that comes, not for everyone, but that comes naturally. So I'm seeing a lot more success and significant acceleration in my organization. We're seeing faster growth now than ever with a predominantly female management team, because they naturally make better leaders.
I share the same feeling like what you say. Not long ago, one of my friends said to me, Gus, you need to fight like a woman. And she didn't say it in the joke way. And I said, hey, that's interesting, fight like a woman. Can you explain more? Well, let me tell you. Look at between men and women. When women fight, even when they cry, for example, at home, they have a baby, the baby cry, they cry, but they didn't stop cooking. They still need to cook for the baby. Mm-hmm. Well, men, when they play soccer and they lose, they can carry on screaming and they stop the game. They don't want to play anymore. They don't even want to cook. They end up going to a pub. Life is so frustrating. I leave the home, I'm in the pub. Women not. They naturally soldier on. And I think what you say is absolutely right. Men or women, let's move from that. But the essence of ability to nurture, ability to soldier on, ability to look after people, ability to grow people, ability to make sure that people around you are actually understand that you genuinely want to make them better. And there is mom that slap the children because they know it can be traumatic if they keep climbing the wall. And I share your opinion there.
Yeah. So, I think for us, for the male leaders and business owners out there listening to this, a really simple thing is, as a leader, is you got to be a good listener. And I struggle with that because I'm a Australian male who goes straight to solutions mode. So the self-awareness around that, I think, is the first thing, and I'm getting better at it. I pay my managers to solve problems. So to scale, you've got to let people get experience, and experience. An expert is somebody that knows all of the mistakes that can be made because they've made them and how to fix them. So you have to create the safe environment for your team members to make the mistake that gives them the ability to solve it, that gives them experience. That's what experience is. If you're micromanaging everybody, you're just going to burn yourself out and you're not going to get any scale. So you kind of got to helicopter parent your team members, in their kind of beginner phase as they move into flow and then mastery. And then you've got to say, okay, well, they're going to make a mistake. Oh, it's going to cost me a bit, but let them make it, And so I think I'm not motivated by money. And so I've been able to afford for people to make those mistakes. Don't forget, I started my business by myself. I've been the 1 person, 2 person, 3 person, 4 person, 10 person, 4 person, 3 person, 11 person, 4 person. I've been there. So I didn't just magically go, right, we've got, in the best practice group, there's 70 people. In the Black Lab group, there's 130 people. And Black Lab was 1. It was my brother epoxying the floors. Then it was 2. Then it was 3. Then it was 1. Then it was 5. So we've been there. So no one can kind of hassle me and say, oh, you don't, yes, you've got all the resources. Yeah, well, we do. But like right now, I'm in a $10 t-shirt. I'm in a $50 pair of jeans. I don't have an expensive car because I give my money to my team members to make mistakes and get experience. What does that let me do? In 2021, what are we in? 2020, I don't even know what year we're in. Yeah, we're in 22. So 2021, I took 9 weeks off. I went and had a great holiday with my family. I had 4 work phone calls in 9 weeks because I let my team make mistakes. I don't have an expensive lifestyle. We went traveling. We were like, let's duck the lockdowns and go to Queensland and go all the way up into the tropics and have a great camping holiday to get away from the COVID nightmare. And my team ran the business and they grew in that time. But it's because I had the confidence to say, well, look, the reality is if I lose everything, I just live in a tent and I'll just rebuild. And in fact, I'll be able to rebuild faster because I've done it once. I won't make the same mistakes on the same journey. And that's why you hear about entrepreneurs, like Jeff Bezos has been broke 3 times. He's now one of the richest, he's second richest guy on the planet after Elon Musk. They've all been broke and they did it again faster, and then they did it again faster again. And I think a lot of small business owners are like, they're scared to lose everything. But the reality is you're the smartest you've ever been. You're the most experienced you've ever been. And when you do it a second time, you do it faster and better. So stop worrying about it, completely crashing and imploding, because if you do, that's the best opportunity you could ever have because you get a clean slate and you can go again and you won't make the same mistakes and you'll do it faster. So I think that fear, people get a lot of anxiety and fear around failing. We want to use that. We want to kind of figure out how do we get uncomfortable being uncomfortable? How do we get comfortable being uncomfortable and get excited about failing? Because all of a sudden that's another way. It's Thomas Edison, right? The 1,000, however many times it was with the light bulb, 1,000 failures till he worked it out. Oh, there's another way that doesn't work. So it's you're getting the sense that I'm a super optimistic, glass is always full person, but I think you've got to think like that. And I know it's a challenge. And so if you're struggling to think like that, find other small business owners to hang out with who think like that, and it'll rub off on you. And that's probably the best thing you can do as a small to medium business owner is listen to more of this content and more people like us that are going to give you the confidence, and stop listening to the negative people who have got no experience and never done it before, and keep consuming this content. Like, go deep on this podcast, listen to every single episode you guys have recorded, and it's gold after gold after gold. All you have to do is implement it. You just have to do what people are recommending, nothing else. Just do what we're all recommending, all the experts that are coming on, and you'll succeed. If you only fail if you stop.
Yes.
Yeah. It's so true. And Kobi, we can speak to you for hours. I'm sure, Gus, you can agree. You have so many questions still in your head, because I know I do. But we are out of time. So, Gus, I always have the hard bit ending it. So Gus, I'm going to hand over to you to sum it up. But it's just been amazing, Kobi. Thank you. So over to you,
You're very
Gus.
welcome. Anytime.
Kobi, first, as Natalie said, we would like to say big thank you. You don't just come to this show to share your thought. You come with every energy you have on your body, and it come across that way, and we really appreciate it. Your passion, I can see why your business is successful. These are some of the things that I liked, and I think we all can learn. Number one, be accountable. When issue happen, start with saying, this is my fault, because then it's become a baseline. I really like that. And I think leaders, if you own a business, doesn't matter what it is, you start with that. This is my fault. People walk away, this is my fault. It's not because they find a new job. This is my fault. I like that. Do more. You are here in the world to do more for other people, but do less. Because, and it's funny, I just think about it in the Disneyland concept. When I went to Disneyland, they don't just have a lot of new games, because then the space become crowded. They actually remove the old games and they, old adventure park, and they replace it with the new. So I think what you said is do more, but make sure you spend also time to take out the past that can give a space in your body to learn. Be brave to take the toxic out. And that could mean take your own belief out. Toxic is not just about other people. That's what I like, right? The things that come across from you is you don't just talk about you need to fix it, but you also said, I'm learning. To the extent you give the example of when you talk to people in the very hard environment, you actually say it up front. I'm learning as well. I might do this wrong, but I try my best. Be grateful. You teach us about grateful from the very start. Be grateful. But then you have to build this element in your organization. You can't just say, be grateful. Of course, you can be grateful. If you're a successful leader and you own an organization, it's easy to say, life is so nice because you are having coffee facing the ocean. Now, the people in the factory floor facing the machine, they can't be grateful drinking coffee because the coffee covering dust. So how you as a leader, doesn't matter the size, implement gratefulness by allowing them to talk about the growth last week. That's the example in your organization. I love that. And then you close it by saying you only fail if you stop. Kobi, we really enjoyed this episode. Guys, if you want to hear more about Kobi, go to Bestpractice.biz. Very approachable leader. And Kobi, thank you so much for attending Leader Talk. You are the first one in 2022, and we wish you well with your business, and thank you so much.
No worries. Thank you so much for having me. I'm glad I set a high standard for everybody else that's coming on. It's been a lot of fun, and I wish everyone success. And again, like all I can suggest is success comes from implementing. It doesn't come from planning. It comes from practice. Perfect practice makes perfect. Please take some of this advice, take some of these tips and implement them, and you will succeed. And let me know when you do, because that's where I get my kicks. That's all I want, is just to know that you got some success and I was able to help because people helped me, and that's what I'm here to do. So thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kobi. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in. For more information on Leader Talk and for some great resources to help your business grow, check out brainiac.com.au. Thanks, everyone.